The average cost to get a barrel of oil, and this is the whole Middle East, from wherever they discover it, whether it's 5,000 feet or 200 feet, to the surface is $2.60. Some are less than $1 because the oil is so close to the surface. And having been very close to that industry in one of the royal families, and the numbers that they, when I was asked on Bloomberg, not surprisingly, I was asked about what I thought about OPEC. And I think I said that OPEC, and that's the governing body supposedly for the oil industry. I said OPEC has a lot of rules and regulations, but they have no teeth. Because if you break the rules, nothing happens. And everybody knows that they cheat. You're supposed to produce 1.4 million barrels a day, and they're 2 million barrels a day or more. And they don't adhere to the sanctions, and they have side deals. Sometimes they sell oil at $40 a barrel. They need cash. So OPEC has got no teeth. And I used to know Khashoggi, who was head of OPEC 35 years ago. And he was the uncle of the guy that they chopped up in the Venezuelan or whatever fucking embassy here 3 years ago. And they chopped him up, literally, chainsaw. The best case scenario for climate change is a rise of 3 meters. And the worst case scenario, this isn't forever. I mean, this is the next 10 years. You're illiterate pig fuckers. And even though you don't want to be like the pig fucker, you are a pig fucker. In the scheme of things in the world, as we know it today, you're pig fuckers. Even Sir Dustin is just barely, he's just a senior pig fucker. Why? Now when I get, yes sir, in the back.
I think, sir, because they're preparing to, not for the war, but to defend if the war does come with Russia and all that.
Yeah, but why are they spending it's going to be useless. It's not going to work. Why does Florida allow you to build this current day when that'll all be gone? Or the third floor will be the first floor? Why does Al Gore, who is Mr. Climate Change, have his house? You can't see the water, but the water's in his front yard. There's a better picture of his house. And he alone, yes sir.
Because it's all horseshit, like you say.
Why is Bill, and I've been saying bad information for a few years, his house is now 65,000 square feet. It used to be 55, but he just added 10,000. For somehow missed it. His house. Why is Barack Obama house on the water? Nancy Pelosi's. Because it's a load of hot cock. That's why. No, Obama, I don't like him. I forget what we just allegedly found out about him. But he's not a moron. Why would he pay $43 million for that estate if it was going to be gone in his lifetime? We got a Hawaii guy here. He's an anomaly himself, probably being in Hawaii based on his background. But although he tells me there's a bunch of Ruskies there, I was surprised. Maybe that's as far away from fucking Russia as they can get. Okay, why? I've been asked to be on 3 or 4 panels over the recent years. And whenever we get down to within 60 or 90 days of the panel on climate change, global warming, I get cut off the panel. I think only once did I send him my slides. But you believe it. That's what he said in 2013. Oh, no, in 2008-9, there won't be any more ice by 2013. There have been 11 groups that have visited the North and South Pole in the last 111 or 12 years. 11 groups. From Amundsen in 1911 onward. All 10 of the 11 groups are dead. Sally and I are the 11th, and we're still alive and kicking. Been to both poles, talked to the scientists on both poles. It's a fucking joke. You're just as misinformed about creating wealth, if not more misinformed. And this is a lot of misinformation. When I was an intelligence officer in the United States Army for NATO, I point there for NATO, one of my specialities was misinformation. They have guys that are trained in misinformation. The Russians are really good at misinformation. But just as much as this is hot cock, your information on creating, well, they don't even talk about generational wealth, do they? Nothing wrong with Grant. Grant's got some good sales stuff, but 10X and that kind of stuff. Generational wealth, a generation is normally considered between 18 and 25 years. Call it 20 years. So how much wealth can a family or a generation make? And that's what we do here in 30 months and 7 years. 7 years if you're clubfoots, like most of you are in this room, or 30 months if you're stars, like a few people have been. You've seen texts, you heard about Anelli. Because the system is built for an acquisition a month, one a month. But success leaves clues. You're easily led. When we talk about the film you saw last night about fear, you're afraid. Just like the guys that I've been a critic of crypto fuck since the beginning. I'm not as dogmatic as Charlie the Munger. It's rat poison squared. But you're easily swayed. You're easily led. Why? Because you want to be like. Is that a man? I don't think we have any its. Last seminar we had an it. So I said man, woman, or it. But I had it. I'm being sarcastic. It's not telling a lie because we have had its. Because you're easily led, you want to be part of the pack. And the inverse of that, when you get out there and the people start really hounding you and beating you, what are you, a fucking moron? I knew you were a moron, but now I know you're a moron. you're out trying to do this, and you spend a lot of money, and you're not talking to your this, and and even though you may not see your kids, they're going to say you abandoned your kids, and it's going to go on and on and on, and you're going to give in because you would rather be liked more than everybody on the planet. Maybe not everybody on the planet, but almost everybody on the planet knows that has the least of my challenges. And I said it when the seminar started a couple of days ago. If you like me when you leave here, I did something fucking wrong. I mean, even my children. We were in China as a guest of the government, sovereign fund of Hunan province, and my youngest son, who was going to the University of Shanghai at the time, and the two sons of the representative of the government, and the last name is Shen. But there's a lot of Shen. That's actually last name was Shen, and they were all little guys. The father, the two sons, actually it was three sons, but the third son wasn't there. All are about 5'2", 5'3", and they all have the same initials, and they can all wear the same tailored shirts with the initials and tailored suits because they're all the same size. All the three sons and the guy. And so the guys in the back were talking, and it was a little guy limousine for Chinese and Japanese, which are different sizes than big limousines. And I overheard my son say, no, my dad doesn't love us. He doesn't expect us to love him. He couldn't say that in Chinese. He didn't know the symbols or the words to be able to explain that in Mandarin. So I heard that part of it. And so then the guys broke into English. And one of the kids went to Berkeley. One of the kids went to Stanford. And so they spoke good English, but they were practicing their Chinese with Derek. And so then Derek pounds on the little window and he says, Dad, I'm trying to explain to him that you don't want us to love you and you don't love us. Well, no, that's not right. I love you, but I don't want you to love me. All I want you is about 20, 30 years after I'm dead, assuming I dead at a normal age, which I'd be dead by now, at a normal age. I want you to have respected me as a man. And real controversy, as they say here, in the car, everybody going back and forth. So at dinner, the conversation broke out again. Your kids maybe even love you, or you think they do. There's a question I ask you about that, isn't there? Some of you say your kids are too young, you don't know, or do your kids think you're successful? Remember that question? And when you say yes, I think to myself, not consciously anymore, because I've read them so many times, I feel sorry for them, because you did something not right. Vis-a-vis creating generational wealth, not being an old fat bald grandfather or whatever. I mean, that's not my playbook. You did something wrong. By serendipity, and for those of you that followed me, and many of you have, my mother in 1946 was going through the checkout line at a bonds market, I think it was bonds. And they have place of point where you buy gum and shit at the counter when you're paying for the food. And there was a little Reader's Digest version, summer of 1946, of Mr. Spock's book on rearing children. And she picked it up, and the rest is history. That book is the second most purchased book in the history of the planet behind the Bible. And she raised me according to that. And it's not a tough love book. It's middle of the road book. And then that coupled with tough love, my dad, who invented in the 50s, that's how I was raised. But nowhere in the fucking book does it say the kids should love you. Nowhere. It talks about respect. In some of the Eastern Bloc countries, still respect is a big deal. Just as in the Middle East, they'll do anything before they'll lose face, be embarrassed. So basically, the same wealthy families have been around 100 years, 150 years since they discovered oil, by accident, I might add, when they were looking for water in the Middle East. The average cost to get a barrel of oil, and this is the whole Middle East, from wherever they discover it, whether it's 5,000 feet or 200 feet, to the surface is $2.60. Some are less than $1 because the oil is so close to the surface. And having been very close to that industry in one of the royal families, and the numbers that they, when I was asked on Bloomberg, not surprisingly, I was asked about what I thought about OPEC. And I think I said that OPEC, and that's the governing body supposedly for the oil industry. I said OPEC has a lot of rules and regulations, but they have no teeth. Because if you break the rules, nothing happens. And everybody knows that they cheat. You're supposed to produce 1.4 million barrels a day, and they're 2 million barrels a day or more. And they don't adhere to the sanctions, and they have side deals. Sometimes they sell oil at $40 a barrel. They need cash. So OPEC has got no teeth. And I used to know Khashoggi, who was head of OPEC 35 years ago. And he was the uncle of the guy that they chopped up in the Venezuelan or whatever fucking embassy here 3 years ago. And they chopped him up, literally, chainsaw, lie, and a shovel, because you want to be part of the group. Now, I wasn't in a fraternity in college. Nobody wanted me. I've never been in any of those social organizations. I've been asked 2 or 3 times to be a Mason, but nah. And these groups take advantage of you want to be liked. If you think even remotely that people are going to understand you when you get out there, you're a fucking moron. I'm saying sarcastically. Your wife's probably already gone. And when I was young and more ruthless than I am today, I used to get a yuck out of it. When lovebirds would come here, they'd be separated in 6 weeks. I still remember a couple walking down the drive holding hands. I still remember that. And when we were in Japan, everybody holds hands. Not everybody. A lot of people hold hands in Japan, couples. So I was being a smart ass. And so what's wrong with you? Are you dizzy? You need support? I've never held Sally's hand, other than that time. And we were in Hiroshima. But I've also never given her any candy and any of that shit. And that is shit to me. I call everything shit, but that is shit to me.